Hey y'all, hope you had a happy holiday weekend. Mine was regular as usual, which is why I decided to get on here and make a new video. A few months ago, I made a video talking about how I had started my spiritual journey, and I talked a little bit about how that went. I'm a little further on it now, and I'm dealing with some heavier things. One of them is dealing with my shadow self and negative emotions that might come up, and emotions that are attached to things that go on in my life. The biggest one currently being embarrassed. Embarrassment, it's really annoying, but it is something that is not devastating, at least to me. And I want to explain why, because I feel like a lot of people out there, embarrassment is like a decapitating emotion for you, and I don't want it to be because it hasn't been for me. When it comes to being embarrassed, I feel like I've lived 1,000 lives simply because I have so much experience to draw from. And I feel like anybody that experiences that, which is everybody, you have a story, I can probably relate to it. Having 3 strands of hair underneath my wig, that's been me. Being a skunk disguised as a human being, that's been me. Living in terrible living situations, that has been me. But when it comes to keeping that embarrassment, I don't know her. I worked through it really quickly, and I don't know if that's normal or not, but it's been my experience, and I want to share the hows and the why. I was being trained to deal with embarrassment and shame on a really grand level, and I didn't even realize it. And I was trained because of work. The 2 jobs that I've worked for the longest taught me better than anything else in my life how to deal with embarrassment. The first one was working at the jail. The jail was not embarrassing for me per se, but it was embarrassing, like secondhand embarrassment. And the reason why is actually because of the women that I worked with, like the women that were brought in. My job was to take people's information when they first got brought in, like intake. The rule was for a woman inmate, if she had a wig on or if she had extensions on, if you had to stay longer than a day, that meant you had to go to court the next day and you had to stay overnight. So if you had to stay overnight, you had to take off your wig. The reason why is you could be hiding contraband in your wig or underneath your extensions, any of that. And a lot of the women were not prepared. They were not all done up underneath their wigs. So it was really embarrassing for them when they got brought in to have to take their whole hair off or have to take their weave off or their wigs off. And they dealt with it so hard body, like they did not care. The majority of them did not care. And then for the ones who got sentenced and had to stay there, they had to stay the whole time without their wigs. They had to stay there the whole time without their weaves, like with anything beautifying them. And they dealt with it so well. They took it like a G. So I watched them for years, going up on the floors and having to talk to them, having to get additional information. I would literally study how they dealt with life, and they really just was like, yeah, all right. I mean, I'll be all right when I get out, and this is just how I am, and I'm good. So I internalized that without realizing. Then for both sexes, it's really embarrassing to have to be searched and stuff for drugs. It's necessary because you could be having them on your person, but bend over, cough, shake your leg, drive it down low. No, I'm joking. But that's embarrassing. Don't nobody want to have to do all that, especially when you're caught unawares and haven't been arrested in the first place. But everybody dealt with it in a way that I did not expect, and I was watching that over and over and over again. They had a stoic response, I guess you could say, and I really internalized that and learned to deal with it the same way when I faced embarrassment in my life. The second way that I dealt with embarrassment or getting over the concept or the notion of embarrassment was having to work in healthcare. Ain't no room for embarrassment in healthcare, okay? Like, if it once you have to take off your wig and stuff when you're getting arrested or you're in jail, baby, they don't take off just their wigs in the hospital or a nursing home. Most of the time, a lot of times you get naked as a jaybird in there. Like, there is no embarrassment because you come there to work, number one. And number two, you're bathing. You're cleaning up poop. You're cleaning up pee. You're cleaning up spit, throw up, vomit, pee, blood. Did I just repeat myself? I did. But I think I got over even secondhand embarrassment very quickly because you really don't have any time. You gotta jump in and get to it. And even, okay, this is gross, but this is something that does not embarrass me, nor does it faze me, is smells. When you get used to smelling C. diff, or when you get used to smelling G-tube, or like G-tube leaks and stuff like that, or burping the bags, burping intestinal bags, like, you don't deal with life the same way. You'll never be the same again after you like deal with stuff like that, after you clean up stuff like that, after you comfort people who are dealing with stuff like that. Embarrassment, we don't know her. Like, there have been multiple nights, unfortunately, where I have been covered in other people's poop just cleaning up. So the notion of being embarrassed because of the way I smell, or because of where I'm at, if it's dirty, all of that stuff, it does not embarrass me, especially because in my travels all across the state and across the country, I've worked in some really, I don't want to say rundown, some facilities that needed a lot of improvement, put it like that. And because they needed a lot of improvement, a lot of them did need to be cleaned up. A lot of them did need to be brought up to code. And again, there's no room for embarrassment. There's really no room for disgust. You got to get to work. So I took my experience from the jail, and I took my experience from being in a servitude position in healthcare, and I merged all of those things that I had been taught when it comes to not feeling embarrassment, and I've carried that with me the entire time that I've been made to feel embarrassed anytime on my spiritual journey recently. So I've given you the why it is easy for me to take on embarrassment with grace and with ease, but now I want to give you the how, so that you can as well, and to show you how I deal with it, I guess. The first way I deal with it is by doing nothing. I do absolutely nothing. And the reason why is because I wait for the moment to pass. I wait for the moment to pass for two reasons. One, because if you respond to anybody or anything outside of yourself that's trying to embarrass you, you have a really good chance of making whatever you're going through completely worse. So I do nothing, and I just let it pass like water or like a wave. Second how method that I use to get through any sort of embarrassment is really just to laugh, to make myself laugh, or to do something that I'm interested in, or to jump into something that's going to divert my attention from whatever it is that I'm currently experiencing. Because one thing about people, they get bored quick. Their attention spans are short, and they're always looking for the next scandal. So whatever it is you're going through, you're not going to be going through it for long, or at least that is what happened with me. And if I did go through something for long, it still died down eventually. We are all sharing a human experience, which means that there's nothing new under the sun. We're all going to experience really embarrassing moments that pass. Actually, you know what? I'm going to share a couple of story times in the near future of some things that have been really embarrassing that have happened to me, because I know I'm not the only one. And embarrassment doesn't have to be a crisis if you don't let it be. It doesn't matter what it is. So that, thinking about that is something that really helps me, and I hope that helps y'all too.